Welcome to the For Real Though Show, the podcast with a purpose for the peoples. I am your host, Christopher Keith. Thank you for joining us. As usual, please like, subscribe, do all of the things, share, comment, all that stuff, so we can get that algorithm up. You know what I'm saying? All right, today we have a special guest. She is a former NCAA academic All-American scholar track athlete from Morris Brown, while receiving her bachelor's in law and legal studies, graduating cum laude, and carrying the title of Miss Bar Association. She later earned a master's degree from Troy State University, a master's in public administration with a minor in criminal justice, and a master's in human resource management. Now working on finishing her doctorate program in business administration focused on management. As you see, my sister got all the letters, right? She's all up in the alphabet, and the mother of three sons. Now, the writer of a new book, so we can add author to her bona fides. The For Real Though Show welcomes Miss Didra Goodlow. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It is a pleasure to be here.
All right. So I read the book. It's very personal script touching on like really sensitive subject matters like just for life and growing up and everything. And as we
Right.
start, I would like for the audience to get to know you a little bit, and I would like to get to know you. Since you haven't become a celebrity yet, and I want to get the inside look of who you are. You're not super well known, but keep living.
Right, right,
I
right.
want to ask a question in four phases, because people like we're the sum of who we are as time goes by. So starting with like your earliest members till about your earliest memory till about the age of 12. Didra Goodlow at between the earliest memories to the age of 12. Tell us
So,
about that child. What was she like?
so Didra, little Didra. Didra was full of life. I definitely was tomboyish but shy. Always athletic. I enjoyed running. I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, so I'm a fraternal twin.
Okay.
And, we definitely grew up, as I mentioned a little bit in my book, very impoverished. Always been a hard worker, outgoing, but again, very shy. So I would say that my early years were relatively challenging because I grew up, very poor. So imagine being a kid with a dream, right? But not knowing how to get to the dream. Just having a dream, looking at the pictures, wishing, wanting, desiring, and just didn't know how to get there. My mother definitely was a divorced mother, survivor of domestic violence. She was a mother of seven kids. I'm six of seven. As I said before, I'm a twin. And, we lived in inner city Birmingham, Alabama, projects, inner city projects, and just kind of moved around quite a bit. And then we finally made our way to the Shoals area, which is another rural area, small town. My aunt Nettie, who is now deceased, that's who I am named after. My twin brother's named after my uncle, Euless. And that was my mother's sister. So, during that time, we were just moving around, just trying to find a way to survive, but being on public assistance, that was in the 70s, and we just really we struggled. I was a kid that struggled. I also was violated, as a child early on. Just being inappropriately touched, being exposed to sexual um, um, molestation
Hmm.
early on. Later, I talk a little bit about it in the book about being raped and molested, and was just trying to find my why, asking God, why did this have to happen to me? I felt like I was a good kid, but of course, experiencing those hard experiences derailed my attitude, my spirit. It broke me. That's up to 12. You get up into the book a little bit. I give you a snapshot of, wanting to commit suicide, surviving that, surviving rape, surviving molestation, abuse, verbal, physical, emotional. It was like I made it. I never took my eyes off of God despite what I experienced. And I think what really made me early on journal and become so close to God is because I needed something outside of another person, outside of anything that could make me connect to a higher spirit, because I knew that there was more for me. So I'll pause there. That was Deidre. I guess I'll just go back and say Deidre was the little girl with a dream, right? I was the little girl with a
What was the
dream.
dream?
The dream was to definitely take care of my mom, to take care of other people, to provide for other people, because I knew what it felt like to stand in lines waiting to get your lunch, taking my lunch home, which they call the free lunch program, JTPA program.
Mhm.
I was on the free lunch program, the cheese, the milk, all of that good stuff. I would take that home and I would share it with my mom. And I knew that I didn't want to live like that, right? I knew that I wanted more. I wanted to take care of her. I wanted to take care of other people because I felt like one of the things that my mom gave me that the world could never give me is unconditional love. She taught me how to love without having money in my pocket or a lot going for myself at that time. She was a woman of love. She was a woman of character. And I wanted to take care of her. My dream was to show her I could make it so I could take care of her. People are going to have different opinions. It's not a kid's responsibility to take care of a mom, or a child should never experience that. But until you walk that walk, you really can't speak to it until you've actually lived it. And you have to live it. You have to understand that, sometimes your choices to fall in love with certain people or to go certain places may not lead to the chapter or to the outcome that you wanted, right? So life's, and you just have to be prepared for whatever life is going to give you. And you have to be prepared to to be resilient, right? So that was the dream, to grow up and take care of her and to take care of other people with no strings attached. That was important to me because I speak about it in the book. Oh, you so pretty. Well, what if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. That was the conversation
Mm.
constantly. My mom always told me, don't abide by, how you look. Get everything you need in your mind so that no one will ever be able to take that away from you. And I learned the hard way, right? So we grow up, we start dating, we fall in love, and then life just life's, right? So I think that's a real key snippet to Deidre.
So I find it interesting what you said about growing up poor because, I grew up poor. I think that's like I don't know, it seems like a common experience for most of us, uh, different levels. But some people I've heard describe it as, well, we didn't really know we were poor because we had so much love or whatever.
Right.
And but it seems like you were you were supremely aware of
Right.
your financial situation. Uh,
Absolutely.
I find that interesting. So why do you think that is? That you were aware?
I was aware because there were things, that I wanted to do that I was always told that I couldn't do. We didn't have enough. And I was aware that I was putting food in my pocket. I was taking it home. I was aware when I could not get the shoes that I wanted, or, I had to recycle clothes, or I had to wait on someone to bring me clothes, or take my mom and my brother at the time to the store, to buy food for us. Our refrigerator was empty. I mean, all of the signs were there. And I was like, okay. But when I would go to someone else's house, it didn't look the same. But then as I got older, I began to have a different perspective. I was like, well, this house may have had a little bit more, but it wasn't as much as I thought it had. It just had more than what I had. So, as you mentioned earlier, as a former track and field athlete, I think one of the lessons that sports taught me is that, to win your race, you got to stay in your lane. You can't look to your left. You can't look to your right. You can't look ahead of you or behind you. You just got to keep going, keep running, keep moving. And I think that was the takeaway for me, is that I was always looking around because I just wanted an out, ducking the gunshots. I mean, it was real, right? And a lot of people, would say, well, Deidre, I never thought you came from an environment like that because I did not. My mom said you can be in the environment, but you don't have to become your environment. And I am a true believer of that. It doesn't matter how you grow up because your circumstances are your circumstances, socioeconomically, infrastructure wise, not to get into that, but you really have to work the cards that you've been dealt. So with that being said, I was an avid reader. I like to read. I was kind of geeky, love to write. I like to write in my journal. Those were the things that kept me busy. But I also, again, like to run around. I would want to race. Like that was my outlet. Like, let's race. So those were the things that, that kept me moving. So I realized how complicated I am. And I haven't even unfolded to the fourth book, which is going to be a surprise. It's going to be an autobiography of the entire walk of Didra Goodlow. I won't name everybody, but I would definitely give the journey. This was a snippet just to kind of give people an insight to say, God woke me up and say, hey, write this book. I need you to go ahead and do this. And then also my oldest brother, I kept trying to make it a perfect product. And he just said, let the book go. My editor, who was one of my Brown Knight sisters in college, she actually ended up being my editor, full circle.
Mm.
So, yeah. So I hope I answered your
No,
question.
you do. You did. You
Yeah.
did.
Great. Great.
You did. Yeah, we're gonna talk about your mom in a little bit. She sounds like she was a very, very awesome woman.
Oh,
Uh, so all right. So now you passed 12. You in your teenage years up to the time you go to college. How did that young lady start to develop and change?
oh, wow. She was lost. She was lost. Um, really didn't understand who she was. Became a people pleaser
Mm,
at the cost of my soul, my spirit, my mind, my heart, who I was, who I wanted to be. I wanted to fit in, however that was. So whether it was in relationships with, females or males, just I wanted to be a part of the in crowd. So, of course, getting into that, it was a price that I had to pay for that, right? And some of it was being in places and spaces that I didn't need to be in. Also, my mom warned me about. But hey, I want to be with the in crowd. And so I didn't always make the right decisions. And so in not making the right decisions again, I may have ended up in a space where my mom warned me about that incident where I was raped. She said, I really don't trust that young lady. You probably
mm.
shouldn't go there with her. So
Wow.
that was my warning, right? When we talk about warning our kids and, intuition and spiritual discernment, it's real. You know, my mom didn't teach because she was biracial. So she didn't teach me to hate anyone, but to love everyone, but to be wise. Just like the Bible says, be wise as a serpent, right? And
Hmm.
gentle as a dove.
Hmm.
So in that instance, that specific example of me not following the instructions my mother gave me, it cost me a moment that I could never erase, right? Some of it, God has just really cleansed my mind. So I'm not carrying it and I'm not reliving it, but I'm also still working through some of that, right? So, yeah.
This we're not gonna go here, but I'm gonna tell you, it is so wild because the thought of your mother's approach, that is a very old school, I would say Southern, because we all came from the South.
Absolutely.
Her approach of saying, you know what, that person may not be good for you. I don't think, like, I haven't heard a reference like that in years. And it
Right.
is so refreshing. Like, so much of what you say about your life growing up, I can relate to. So we're not gonna go there. This is a surprise to me. Me and Miss Deidre have not had a real conversation yet.
Right. Not
I'm just
yet.
saying, I'm just telling the audience that I'm having to shut myself up. This sister got to get on the road. She got business to do. But I'm just saying, like, we could go there. We might have to have another conversation later down the line, but I'm just letting you know. Anyway, okay.
Okay. Okay.
So again, growing up in poverty, lots of things going on in your life, young lady, and you made it to college. You made it to college. How did
Woo.
you get to college? Listen, when I graduated Lincoln High School in 1985,
Right.
okay, I went to the Air Force. And the reason I went to the Air Force was because at my school, and I love my school, I love my classmates, we're all still very close. If you wasn't a gifted person, if you weren't like in that gifted space
Mhm.
and you didn't get talked to about college, and my dad didn't talk to me about college, like nobody talked to me about college ever. Okay. So I ended up
Right.
going to the service. Uh, but so I often think and imagine myself, hey, man, what if I would have went to college? What would that would have been like? But it was like it was something that was never even approached to me. Okay.
That's funny. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But in your situation, I don't know if you were a scholar or if you were just super cold in high school, but man, how did you get to college?
Woo. When I tell you, let me be clear, it was a journey. When I reflect back, I have to stop and say, girl, you must have been some kind of determined young lady.
Mm,
So, how did I get to college? So, we talked about, 12, we talked about teams. I remember my counselor. It's two very profound moments of my life that I will never, ever, ever forget. One was my guidance counselor who told me that I was never going to be anything
mm.
and
That's
that
insane to me, by the way. That's
it's
insane.
insane, but those were her words. And she was like, well, you're not going to do that well, because I actually struggled early on with reading comprehension, and I had to really work hard to overcome that. And I think it was just fear, and it was just lack of resources and not having insight, right?
Hmm.
So as I navigated through that, listening to her tell me you're never going to be anything, and I think you probably should go to the poultry factory and work at the factory, or maybe do hair or something like that. So I carried that for a long time, and I believe that what those words, and I think I referenced that in the book, the words that people speak to you are powerful. They will be life changing to you in that moment, unless you release that in that moment. So, with that being said, as a young woman, of course, I'm processing that, and I'm like, well, nobody ever talked to me about, Morris Brown College. I didn't know anything about Morris Brown College. I didn't even really know about HBCUs. But what I will say is that my siblings, my older siblings, they were either in the military or in college. I have a sister that's an attorney, a brother that's an engineer. He does stock trades. I have a sister that's a nurse. Another brother that went to college, went to Morehouse. So, but I didn't know them because they were so much older than me, right? And I didn't know them until I got a little bit older. So as I got older and I started putting the pieces, because my mother was married, to my sibling's father, and she had moved to Birmingham. So let me circle back. So I kind of started hearing things about Howard University is where my sister went, right? And I started hearing about Alabama, University of Alabama. So I started asking questions. And as I got a little bit older, I started processing. I was like, college, I can go to college. But mind you, my counselor said I couldn't go because of my reading scores and test scores and these kind of things. So I ended up I think I ended up taking a community course. My mom's with her play sister was the head of department nursing in Alabama, University of North Alabama. I got in. Okay.
Hmm.
Now, I did good in some classes, but I was a whole freshman. So I was
Hmm.
turning up. So I got in. And I was like, oh, okay, this is what y'all do in college, right?
Yeah, I'm
So I
sure.
didn't move from someone telling me that I can't go to college to saying, okay, I'm in college. Dr. Alice Brown, my Aunt Alice. And I went over there, but I had a tie to my past into my future. And the breaking point was when I went there, I didn't do well my first semester. And I left without withdrawing because we all did that. You know, we thought we were grown. We knew what we were doing. And I was like, oh, I was supposed to withdraw. I just thought I could leave. Not knowing, just making these mistakes. So I ended up, finishing up my semester, not withdrawing. And that was in Alabama. I circle back around. I tell my mom, and I know this is probably a little bit more than what you asked for, but it's important. So I circle back around, tell my mom, hey, I can't stay in this town anymore. Like, I want to go to Atlanta, right? I had a friend that was living in Atlanta. My sister was in Atlanta. And at the time, that was the Mecca, right? Everybody moving to Atlanta. So I make my way to Atlanta. I don't want to give too much because then I give parts of the next book out. So
Okay.
okay.
All right. All right.
So fast forward, I'm in Atlanta. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm in the laundromat. Washing my clothes, meet a group of young ladies. This is how I get to Morris Brown. Now, this is the part that was crazy. So, but this is important because Morris Brown is referencing there in my honors. So I'm there. I meet these young ladies, and they was like, you look really athletic. Do you play sports? And I was like, well, yeah, I play volleyball, basketball, and I run track. And I was like, but now I'm here working, trying to find my way. When I tell you God is something else, and they said to me, these young ladies said to me, well, we want to introduce you to our coach who rests in heaven, Coach Ian Dubé, who has passed away. He passed away from pancreatic cancer. I was really young, over probably not even 55 years old when he passed away. But needless to say, that man played in a critical part in my life. And he is why I am sitting here today, a significant portion of why I'm sitting here today. So I meet him. We go to the Jamaican restaurant. He's talking to me. He was like, well, okay, I want to see you run. And I was like, okay, no worries. I'll run. And he said, all right, I want to offer you a small scholarship. He said, but what I found out, he said, you're not eligible. And I was like, well, what do you mean I'm not eligible? He's like, you didn't withdraw from your last university. So I had to go to a junior college, get my grades up, go back to him that summer. And then I got accepted into Morris Brown. And the rest was history. I mean, from becoming the NCAA Academic Athletic All-American, double wins and a 1-2, NCAA qualifier for like the 2-4. The rest was history. But God ordered that. So with that being said, what I was told that I couldn't do, if I would have stopped in that season of my teen years, when I became a young woman, I wouldn't have gone to University of North Alabama. I wouldn't have gone to Morris Brown College and graduated and went on to pursue further education. So I say this to the listeners, whatever is spoken to you, whether it's as a child, a woman or a man, regardless of race, socioeconomic status, location, zip code. What God has for you, he has for you, and he aligned it. And I thought I had a plan. My favorite verse is Jeremiah 29:11. God has a plan for us, and he laid it all out. Despite all of these things happening to me, I'm like, okay, am I going to make it? But I made it. So I hope that answers your question as it relates to how I got to college.
It does.
Like, I just, when I sit back and reflect, and even the job that I'm in today, which I won't disclose, just for, private reasons, privacy reasons.
Sure.
But needless to say, Morris Brown was a link to that as well. So my steps have been ordered, not because I ordered them, but because God had already written a plan for me. I just had to be obedient. I couldn't become the product of my environment. I had to work through my obstacles, and I never, ever quit. Now, did I cry? Did I pause? Did I stop? Did I have breakdowns? Did I lean to God? Did I lose things along the way? It's a collective process. It was a collective process. in everything. When I talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly in it, it goes back to the Bible verse, Romans 8:28. Everything will be used for your good. So while we reject the ugly parts of ourselves, the bad parts of ourselves, everyone in 2026 want to show us how boss they are, how amazing they are, right? But when you start digging to that ugly part or to that bad part, can you still walk with the same confidence? And that's why I
Mm.
wanted to write that book, to say the good, the bad, and the ugly. So this was self-reflection. And so again, I probably gave you a little bit more than what you asked
No,
for,
you're good. You're good.
but that's
It's a free
how
space. This is a free space.
I got to college. And I was like, wow. At first, I started out doing it to prove to everybody I could get it done,
Mm.
right? That's that overachiever energy that people are giving off today and that I had. Let me show you how many achievements. But then they have high functional, dysfunctional achievement, overachiever.
Hmm.
That's a form of abuse. And we're not taught that, right? We're taught that we just have to keep going, getting, going. But when you take a step back, what my mother gave me were the fundamental principles of love, family, kindness, character, integrity, loving on other people, showing up for other people. And that's something that we've lost. And even today, after I sit in the seat of the accomplishments, I'm still not perfect. I'm still navigating through challenges. So I don't want anyone to believe that a book, a degree, a family, I've been married, I've been divorced, that any of those things make or break you as an individual. You will forever be evolving into the person you are. Living this moment, living this season, because we have birth, life, and death. Birth is when we announce. Life is all the culmination of the experiences we have. So we have to embrace those, whether they're good, bad, or ugly. And then we have the exit, and there's death. And a lot of people don't want to talk about that, but eventually we will pass on. Like my mother, she passed away at 84 years old, but I can't be mad about that because God gave her a solid 84 years, right? So just the maturity in the heart, not maturity in that I'm grown, but maturity in heart of loving the moments that God has given us. Some people want us to hate it, and some people want us to love it. And you yourself may be through a love hate season, but you gotta love it. You gotta say, you know what, this is my moment. Whether
Mm.
it's financially, emotionally, relationship, whether it's transition, whether it's a pause, a rest, this is my moment. I'm gonna step into this moment. And that's what has happened.
Hey y'all, look, I'm just like y'all. Y'all fired up. I'm fired up for real because I'm telling you, we'll have to have a conversation later. But I'm telling you, man, you are
Okay.
singing my song.
Right.
Okay, all right, we're gonna keep it moving. All right,
Come on. All right. All right.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you. I'm just sitting here like, hey man, pass the plate. You know what I'm saying? Like, put it in the plate. Uh,
And
so
you know what, Chris,
yes,
before
ma'am.
we go on, I really want to communicate this. I gave the snippet about being told that I couldn't make it. I gave the snippet about pushing to where I made it. But what I want people to understand is be mindful, very mindful about the words that you allow people to speak to you.
Mm, mm.
You can love on people even in their ugly season, but you can have very clear boundaries, right?
Hmm.
One of my dear girlfriends, close friend of yours, said to me, there's the moment of honesty and transparency. Honesty is I am going to love people the way that God told me to love them. But the transparency portion is you have to see people and meet people where they are.
Okay, say that again. I know exactly what you said. Say that again.
I'm going to need you to say it again.
Okay. Honesty and transparency.
Right.
Um,
Shout out to Angie Taka.
Shout out to Ed. That's a wise, hey, that's a
18.
wise sister there, man.
She's a bad girl. She's
She's
a
a bad
bad
girl,
woman.
man.
Yes,
She
sir.
is. She's one of my favorite people in the world. She
One of
really.
my favorite people. Yes. Yes.
Wow, wow, wow.
Her
Yeah.
and her baby. K
Yeah.
Tucker.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, and you
I
know
love
what?
it. Mhm.
And a lot of our people have been told, like by counselors and whatever, that they cannot do. And I work in youth sports, so I work with young people just about every day.
Mhm.
And you're not the first person that that's happened to. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm glad that you did your thing, but I'm just still sorry that you had to go through somebody telling you what you couldn't do. Somebody who was actually there to give you all of your best options and not tell you you need to go work in some place where they picking chicken feathers and whatnot. So I just say that.
But let
Uh,
me give you,
yeah.
but you know what? And that's fair. But I need the young people and every person to understand that that is going to either fuel you or stop you. You have to choose which side. And what God is saying, when the Bible says, seek me first, and all of these things will be added to you, that's my message to people. I'm not saying not to buy a book. I'm not saying not to listen to your coaches. I am not saying it. I do not want that to be the takeaway. But I want you to keep it in perspective. The Bible says, seek me first, the kingdom of God, and everything will be added to you. And when I reverse my thinking outside of what people said I could and could not do, how good I was, if I wasn't good enough, if whatever the inadequacies, the deficiencies that were pointed out to me, when I started seeking God first, I got stronger and stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually, right? Are
Hmm.
there going to be challenges? Absolutely. But your faith is in God. I just wanted to add that in there.
Very good. Very good. So we got about 10 minutes. So
Okay,
I
thank you.
want to speed it a little long. So in the book, you talked about the magnolia flower, and you said that the spiritual meaning of the magnolia flower is purity, grace, and dignity. Uh, Now, when you wrote, you also said that it represents the feminine, symbolizing empathy, love, strength, and stability. So when I read that, I didn't take the feminine as a statement of gender, but more as a state of being.
Yes.
How would you describe the feminine in the context of your statement regarding the magnolia flower?
I would say the statement of being, it's not gender based at all. The
Mhm.
magnolia flower is, a symbol. That was my mother's name, Magnolia, right? So I'm not into the gender based bashing of human beings at all. I think human beings are human beings, man or woman. So resilience, empathy, love, compassion exists within a human being who embraces those things. I don't think it's a feminine to love, to touch, to kiss, to hug. If you're a man, you're not supposed to do those things. Cry if you need to cry. You know, move how you need to move to make sure that you are well mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I think right now we're faced with things being gender based, race based. It's human beings. Human beings have to make a decision on who they are and be who they're going to be based on their experiences, right? And just
Mhm.
making those experiences good for people. I hope I answered your question.
No,
Good.
you did
Okay, cool.
because like I said, I think as a uh our friend's husband would tell you because I we've talked about this and they all kind of know this about me, but like I'm like a Hall of Fame crier. You know?
Okay. I feel like
And I used to push against it. Like I used to just like, oh, what are you crying for? And it could be for happy things, like it could be like
right,
art especially is something
right.
that really touches me. It could be
Okay.
an acting scene. It could be Sidney Poitier in A Raisin in the Sun when he has this conversation with the white man in front of his family about why they're going to move into this house and not take this money. And when he says,
Uh-huh.
this is my son, and it's like,
Right,
and if you've seen the movie before, you know the part where she says, "Yes, go on, tell him, Walter Lee, show your son how to be a real man." And then when he does this, it's like you've done this on Broadway 11 times. You've done this in a movie, and every
right,
single time I believe you. I
right.
believe you. So stuff like that kind of art.
Mhm.
it could be sad, it could be happy, but it just things that touch me. And so I've learned to just let it go. Just go ahead and cry. It's cool. You know what I'm
I
saying?
mean, it's okay. I'm a big old crybaby. Everybody may not know that, but I'm touched by moments. And I think that's a part of being a human being, is really being in touch. Whitney Houston is one of my favorite artists. And I think her story touched me, and my mom's favorite movie was our favorite movie, correction, was Bodyguard. Now, every time I see that Kevin Costner and Whitney Houston movie, I cry because the way he loved on her, the way he covered her and protected her, you didn't see anything other than the love between two people that started off in business. And I think that's really the way we're supposed to be. Like, you have the experience, but fall in love with the experience. Even if the person leaves you, fall in love with the experience. We don't control anyone or anything. So let your emotions out.
Yes, yes. So in this book, this is our
Feast
book
for
here,
the
Seeds for the
Soul.
Soul. Okay,
Yes.
it represents like there's towards the end there, it has a lot of scripture references and quotes,
Right.
and they cover a range of topics. Like dealing with art, the art of dreams, judgment, being
Mm-hmm.
brokenhearted, gratefulness, anxiety, abuse, doubt, betrayal, compassion,
Mm-hmm.
like human experiences every day. So why was it important for you to offer insights like on all these matters? And there's so much more, folks. There's nothing that I can think of that's not covered here where there's a reference in scripture where you can seek some, confirmation, some help, some encouragement. Why was it important for you to cover all these things?
Well, great question. It was so important because I experienced every piece of it. And I want people to know that's how complicated we really are as a people, right? So it was important for me to add that in there, is because when I have those moments, I go back to my scripture, right? I talked about journaling early on. I talked about having an issue with reading comprehension, but then reading became my passion. I love reading the Bible. I used to play church. I wanted to be a minister. Now, my mother said, Deidre, you're doing everything else but stepping into ministry, right? So I just knew that if I needed that, I'm like, okay, is this a seed that I can share with someone else to help them? I may not be for everyone, and that's okay. But it was important to say, if you are experiencing anxiety, this is a good verse for you to go to. And I wanted it to be a reference point, just like how we reference when we are writing in our journals, we go back and we look at it. I wanted the book to be designed to where it could be applicable to any season of your life, any day, any year. You pick it back up, and it's just confirmation, a reaffirmation of what you need to get you through that moment, and to give you a short read. Because not everyone wants to read a 500-page book, right? So I want it to be a
Mm,
quick reference read, book to guide people through parts of the Bible. If they wanted to read, if he or she wanted to go back and read a little bit more on Job or on Jeremiah, they said, hey, starting point is Jeremiah 29:11. Let me see a little bit more of what I want to read. So that's kind of where I was going with that, is to keep it short, sweet, direct to the point, around the biblical verses that could help you through those moments of your life, right?
mm.
So that's really why I did that.
Okay, cool. So, music is like something I'm like a really big fan of. Like music, I
Right.
would say literally has saved my life, like on multiple occasions. Just
Okay.
being able to go and listen to something with a melody or word that just touches me and gets me through. So I
Okay.
call it going to church. There are times when I'm down and I go outside, I might go outside, I might get me a cigar or whatever, or I might just sit in my
Mhm.
room, you know what I mean? And I'm just gonna play
Right.
whatever comes to me until I'm restored.
Right.
So recently, I was listening to Frankie Beverly's "Golden Time of Day," and I don't know about you, but there are times when you hear a song and you've heard it 1,000 times, but then you
Right.
hear it differently.
Right.
Okay, so these lyrics came out to me. People,
Mm-hmm.
let me tell you, there's a time in your life when you know who you are.
Mm.
That's the golden time of day, and in your mind, you will find you're a bright, shining star. That's the golden time of day. When you
Mm.
feel deep inside all the love you're looking for, don't it make you feel okay? Like the time of the day when the sun
Yeah.
is going down. That's the golden time of day. So when I heard that the last time, it hit me and I started crying because it was like I'm in my golden time of day, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And the song is like this allegory between nature, like the sun going down at the end of a day, and then
Mm-hmm.
a person's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it just kind of made me reflect
Okay.
on my own golden time of day,
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that you talked about, how
Right.
the experiences you have in building yourself, through God to be where you are.
Right.
When you look at yourself in the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and you reflect on your own golden time of day, because I think once we're like 50, 55, it's probably when it sets in, right?
Right. 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 I'm 53. Don't care.
Okay. When you look at that, what are you most proud of? And what are you most looking forward to in your golden time of day?
So, a couple of things. I am most proud that I have given reverence to God and that I have rededicated my life to God and that I allow God to guide me, not through people, things, accomplishments. As our Bishop Brunner says, accoutrements, none of those things matter to me anymore. I'm proud that I am what I call balanced. At 53, I'm balanced. Of course, I'm just balanced. What I'm looking forward to is retirement in, a few years, gardening, hanging out with my kids. That's if they want to hang out with their mom, because I'll be a little bit older, um, and serving other people, helping other people. It doesn't matter. I don't have a type of person, just helping people wherever that is going to lead me in serving. I think one of the key things in the midst of that second part is that I am a servant leader. And I think it's important to serve people with your positives and your negatives. If you can sow seeds among people to minimize their journey, right? So that they don't have to repeat some of the mistakes. I want to be able to pour into people with that, but I also want to be able to remind people that this season will pass, right?
Mm.
It's not permanent. So whatever we think is permanent will keep us bitter, stuck, um, unwilling to move, unwilling to shift. When it's back, it's like that's a moment, right? That's just a moment. Like literally, when we hang up this conversation, this call today, it's in the past.
Mm.
So we have every moment to make a change and to just keep moving forward. And when you talk about music, I love music too. Vanessa Bell Armstrong, "The Denied Stone" is a gospel song.
Hmm.
It's one of my favorites. I cry every time I hear it, right?
Hmm.
Because the denied stone would end up being the stone that will be there for others. So it's just a reminder to everyone, even to you and I, as we are talking, that yeah, looking for the moments of just enjoying music, food, shopping, just relaxing and just really saying, "Ooh, I made it through those hard seasons." Like I'm close to chapter 54, right? So I want to write the remainder of my books
Mm.
and just serve and sow and do fun things. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I think that's awesome. So, our last question as we wrap up, and this is going
Yes.
to be the most serious question of them all. So, make
Okay, I'm
sure you're
serious.
ready. You're
I'm
ready.
ready.
All right, now,
All
somewhere
right.
out in here in these streets, word
Mm-hmm.
came to me that a certain young lady from Birmingham, Alabama, is really obsessed with the Dollar Tree.
I am.
Now, now, like yourself, I enjoy a little retail therapy, every now and then, we feel
Mm-hmm.
good about it. We all got our favorite stores, and there are plenty of. What's up with you in the Dollar Tree?
I mean, I love it. Love the Dollar Tree. It's my favorite little go-to store. I get my steps in there. I find some good finds in Dollar Tree. Let me be clear about that. So for the ladies that shop at Nordstrom's and all of that good stuff, go right ahead. I found out a long time ago, and I'm gonna tell you why. Well, first of all, my mom, that was one of her favorite stores. But I would say that as a former buyer, what we don't understand as consumers, a lot of the things that we buy, they are sold in other stores. So if it has like a slight modification, a chemical base off of it, that item's been made. It might go to an expensive store, but you can find that item in dollar store, maybe a smaller, amount. Like say, for example, I love what Oreos. You can get the big bag of Oreos at Publix, but you also can get the small bag at Dollar Tree. So
Mm.
snacks are cheap, so just being frugal in this season of consuming is still the same food, right? So I like to get all of my little stuff there, like my little lip glosses and all my little finds there, because I can save and double my savings. So I'm definitely frugal.
No, that's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So, yo, I appreciate you spending time with us. Tell us where people can get Seeds of the Soul and how they can make contact with you if they want to have you speak or visit or anything like that.
Yes, I would say that definitely, Chris. I don't know if we have it on here, but Didra Goodlow is my Instagram, and I would say that the listeners can DM me at this moment. The book will be available on Amazon. I'm thinking no later than August of 2026,
Mhm.
but I actually mail copies out if the shipping and handling is covered by the person that's interested in requesting a book. But definitely DM me, and we can start there. And I would say follow me on Instagram.
Could you spell
Yep.
it out? Spell it out exactly for the listener?
Sure. Didra Goodlow. Didra Goodlow. And that's my IG account.
Very good. Well, Miss
It,
Deidre,
it is what
yeah.
is the picture with the
Oh, okay. You got like a little thing. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you got like the like a little pose there.
right. It's a
You,
pose. It's a
okay,
pose.
it's like a
Right.
half Vogue.
It's Bogan. Yes.
Well, yo, I know you got to get on the road. We've been trying to
Yeah.
get this
Thank
done for a while, but I so
you.
appreciate you. Man, please come
Thank
back because I would love to talk to you more about your mother. I would love to talk to you about
you.
unconditional love, and I would love to talk to you about journaling.
Absolutely. We can
Okay?
make that
So
happen.
if you come
Yes.
back, we appreciate it. But yo, thank you for joining us on the For Real
Thank
Though show.
you. Thank you for
Again,
having me.
like, subscribe, do all the things. Y'all stay safe out there. You stay safe on the road, Miss Deidre, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.